honestly, I'm not dumb to understanding the fact that people don't like watching mortgage videos. They're pretty boring, to be completely honest, and we just sit there and talk about programs. So we're gonna try today a new series that I'm gonna do, which is basically, I'm calling it a day out of office, but kind of showcasing what we actually do, like me as a person. And while we're doing that, I'm gonna be sitting there talking about some mortgage programs, mortgage myths, things like that, that try to make it a little bit more interesting to watch, because I know it can be boring sitting there watching me in front of a camera with nothing else. So hopefully we have a little bit more fun today, and we go from there. But that's basically where things are going. So we'll try it out and see where we get.
It's a gorgeous day for a ride. It's like probably low 50s right now, and just perfect outside. Little chilly, slight wind, but in general, I love it. This is my favorite time of year to ride. Everything's green. We'll start here once I get to my first place that I'm not actually pedaling, with our first mortgage unit. And we'll dig into a couple from there. So the first mortgage myth I kind of want to go over today is the 20% down. And honestly, if you haven't heard of this through, you got to be living under a rock or something. Because, I mean, everybody talks about how unreal that is. There's not a single program, unless you're looking like some specific non-QM like programs that actually require 20% down. Conventionals, 3% first-time buyers, 5% if you're already over own home. FHA is 3.5%, regardless if you own a home or not. And there's a bunch of other programs. I mean, even your USD is zero down, VA is zero down. Like, there's so many different good options that you don't need 20% down. And I honestly can't even tell you a single program, besides unless you're doing like bank statement loan. Like, bank statement loans need a little bit. But usually even those are minimum 10. So wherever you're hearing that, if you haven't been updated yet, that's not true. That's the first myth I kind of want to go over, that I've been over many times. But no matter how many times I talk about it, I find that there's still people that think it's true. Or maybe it's coming from their parents of saying, you need to put 20% down to drop your PMI. Realistically, that's a good thing to do. But oftentimes the mortgage insurance is much cheaper than what you'd imagine. And it makes more sense to keep the money in your bank. So myth number one there, not true. You do not need 20% down to buy a house. So number two that I wanted to talk about today was credit score. Now, I don't know how many people actually believe this one, but that you need to have basically perfect credit to buy a house. And that's just one of the silliest things I've heard. I've been in this industry 4 years, and kind of just talking to people through it, there's almost always an option. Like, we can't do everything, but usually, if there's something, like most loan programs go down to 580, depending on the lender. There's what's called lender overlays you have to worry about. But in general, 580s is even pretty lax. Some go down to 550. We even have a no credit score option, that if you have no credit score at all, you can still qualify. So it's not true that when you're looking at buying a house, not only do you not need 20% down, but you also don't need perfect credit. It has to be decent. And what they look at more than anything else is late payments, because they want to make sure they're getting paid back. Or collections, anything you didn't pay back. But in general, you don't have to have a 650, 750, 850. I mean, even down to a 600 is fine. If you're lower than that, then there's probably some stuff we should work on in general. That'll just be good for you. And it's always a good thing to boost your credit out. When you do boost your credit, you're gonna get lower interest rates. Now that's on mortgages, that's on personal loans, that's on cars, everything else. And unless you're Dave Ramsey, realistically, everybody's taking out a loan to do some stuff like that. So I'm gonna take a second and talk about being out here. This is Granite Bay, full flag Granite Bay entrance. Tons of biking trails out here. Not the greatest trails in the world, but they're fun. They're short, and they're kind of an intermediate level. A bit rocky. Not completely smooth. I've had some friends that I thought this was simple on and brought them out, and it was their first time out, and that was my mistake. Should have gauged it a little bit better. Realizing people learn different. So yeah, but these are great trails. If you're looking to purchase anywhere around this area, obviously this is the Granite Bay entrance. So if you live in Granite Bay, you're right here. But overall, this is one of my favorite things about living in this area. Is you have the lake, you have this access, you have this beautiful water. This where it gets pretty full in the summers. But even when it's full, usually the lake access is high enough that you can still have a lot of fun. And it's not like you're absolutely packed on a single beach. Basically all this here, and I'm over, everything back here, you can drive out on. So if you're looking to move to the area and you're looking for something to do in the summers, this is kind of the place to do it. A lot of mountain bikers come out here like 5, 6 in the morning because it gets so hot in the summer. But the rest of the day, bring your barbecue out, have a good lake day with the family. It's a lot of fun to be out here. There's some four-wheeling trails up here too. We used to come out and do these. Nothing too crazy again, but they're still fun if you got a little bit of a lift, or even just like getting your car dirty. Now, as I sit here and catch my breath, because I took into account that I'd be tired while doing this, but I didn't really think of how much I'd be breathing, and I'm so sorry that if anybody made it this far in the video, you're watching me just breathe heavily while I try to talk. But here we are. So the last myth that I kind of wanted to bring up is that renting is always cheaper than buying. And while that's true up front, if you're looking at the long term of a purchase, it's not true. Now, things that you should take into account, some people have really, really good landlords and a good deal worked out for rent. And if this is your case, you know, it may not make a ton of sense, but also we're going to talk about two different parts of this. Number one, long term, rent will increase. Mortgages won't. At least your principal and interest won't. Now, obviously, there's taxes and insurance you have to take into account. So sometimes those will increase, but it's not going to be the same as a 10% rent increase, you know, the max that you're available to. Now, the other thing is, while it's going to be more expensive monthly up front, you can still get into a house using these down payment assistance programs. And as I just mentioned with credit, there's down payment assistance programs that go down to a 600 credit score or a 620. The one I use the most is a 640. There's a lot of options out there. And I think I just kind of wanted to bring that up of if you're looking to buy and you're thinking, well, it's too expensive. You're right. The mortgage payment is going to be more, but thinking 5, 6 years down the line, what's it going to look like when your rent has increased 4 or 5 times and your mortgage has basically stayed the same?
I apologize that sometimes I just get on a ramble and just kind of keep talking. So I'm going to keep talking in the video, but I'm going to be playing other mountain biking footage and stuff so you guys can actually watch something a little bit more fun, because this was the whole thing I was trying to avoid. So forgive me. Here we go. So they're going to even out eventually. If you continue renting, it's not going to be cheaper. But if you look back 5, 8 years ago, the mortgage payments back, if you got in, you know, let's say a home around 250, maybe 200, even with 6 or 7% rates, you're looking probably $2,000 a month. Now, these aren't estimates. I'm just kind of averaging it out here because I've seen enough of these. And especially if you sat it and then through the market, drop to the, you know, even if you drop to a 5% rate after that, you're still looking less than what you're now paying in rent, because rent has gone up so much in the last 10 years. It's definitely things to weigh out and think through. And what I tell everybody, and kind of the goal of all these videos, is like, hey, if you haven't talked to a lender, go talk to one, because you don't really know what you're missing until you are actually in the middle of it. You know, it's going to be expensive, but is there a way to make it work? Are there programs out there? Are there 2-1 buy downs? Can you do a rate buy down? Can you get seller's credit to help you pay for that rate buy down so you're not coming too much out of pocket? Do you need to get in for low cash out of pocket or using down payment assistance? Like, there's so many options. And it's so funny to me because I was talking to a client this last week that they were initially approved to the bank that they work with. And it was funny because after talking and sitting down and having a conversation, they were like, wow, I didn't realize you could do all this. They do have a budget they want to stick under. And it was really interesting just having the conversations because their bank just sent them a pre-approval and said, go find a house, you're good, you know, 20% down, conventional, la-di-da, go get it. And it was funny, after sitting down with them, I found out, you know, it made more sense with them to use part of their down payment towards an interest rate buy down.
And then we're gonna change up the route. And then we're also gonna look at houses that are been sitting on the market a little bit longer so we can ask for a seller's credit, because right now they need the lower payment. So we're gonna be looking at a 2-1 buy down. Even if rates don't come down, they expect their income to go up. So they know what they're getting. So in that case, someone who thought they had a lower budget and they know it's worth the jump to come back and buy in the market because they have seen what the equity can do for them. So don't count yourself out if you haven't talked to a lender. And that's always what my recommendation is. I don't care if it's me or someone else, but go talk to someone who's knowledgeable. That's actually gonna help you understand what you can do in the process. Whereas renting is usually upfront cheaper than buying. You gotta bring a little bit more out of pocket, or less out of pocket, and usually less monthly payment. But realistically, if you're renting for $2,500, $2,600, $2,700 a month anywhere, you can absolutely get into a house for that amount of money monthly. It's just gonna be not the same standard of house. You know, you may be in a 5-bedroom at $2,700 a month in this area in Sacramento, Granite Bay, versus being in a 3-bedroom at $2,700 a month. But realistically, one's gonna build you equity. So are you willing to lose the quality of life for 3 to 5 years, just slightly, go to something smaller to build the equity and then be able to move up? Or are you gonna keep renting your whole life? And that's really the question you gotta ask yourself is, what is it worth it? What can I afford even if I'm pushing it? What can I afford? Because the equity that I'm gonna build by doing this makes so much more sense than sitting here paying someone else's mortgage. All right, now's the fun part. Gonna be hitting some of my favorite trails on the way back. I do this loop reverse 29. A buddy told me to do a reverse one time, and I was like, I can't be that good. It's way more fun to reverse, so we're doing a back push today. How's it going, guys? Can't go over how nice it is out. So yeah, this is a fun area. This is not just for mountain biking, but everything in the summer. If you're in Roseville, Rock Point, Granite Bay, Orangevale, Citrus Heights, this is kind of the spot to come out to. Only thing I gotta worry about here in the summer is rattlesnakes. I mean, they're definitely out here. I see them every time I'm out riding. But they're usually only out in the morning because they don't like it too hot. They like it just hot enough. Well, as we reach the top of the hill again, here we are. Quick lookout, because it's beautiful up here. Got a little swing we can sit on that I'm probably too large for, if we're being real here. But hope you either enjoyed the video from watching mountain bike trails or learned something. Realistically, I'd love it if you did both. All right, last one here. Last trail. One thing I love about this park, they added this trail probably 5-6 years ago now, maybe a little more than that. It's called the Flow Down, and it actually is the only like flowy trail here. And it's nice because it takes you right back to the fork in the road. So basically that's this last bit of hills, and then it's just straight flat to the car. But this is a fun one. So I'm gonna keep you on, point you forward, and give you a little something hopefully fun to watch. Oh, now just back to the car. Love that one. Best one I had. Nice little pop up to the car. Whew. All right, that's it.
Well, that's it for today. Hope you learned something. Hope you had fun watching it. Those are a couple mortgage myths that I hear just constantly that I just wanted to clear up while we had a little bit of fun. So if you like this type of content, please shoot a like down low or subscribe, and hopefully we'll see you next video. Thanks again.